Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
Hi, welcome to Tiny Desk Worship for First Church and Parish in Dedham. We will be worshiping at 10 a.m. on the green tomorrow, but this is for people who can't join us for Sunday, April 4th, 2021, Easter. Our centering thought is from Abba Jahani, Visions of a Skylark Dressed in Black. You were born a child of light's wonderful secret. You return to the beauty you have always been. I invite you to relax into our prelude, How Brightly Shines the Morning Sun by J.S. Bach, performed by Derry Dolezal.
Everybody, this is Paquita Bass, and it's that time of year when we talk about money. I make an income. I am a Boston public school teacher, and my income forms my family budget that reflects our spending decisions and shows our priorities. As a church, our income isn't different in that way. Our income forms our budget that shows our spending priorities as an organization. But it's different in a really big way, in that the church income comes from all of our pledges together, joining, combining, and supporting our church community. We know that we're stronger together. We know this when we bring water for water communion, when we bake pies for the Holly Fair, when we spend time in committee meetings. Your pledge is another concrete way to participate and show your confidence in us. Please pledge and show that First Church is a priority for you. Thank you.
It is so good to be together. I'm so glad that you can worship with us today, even if you can't be with us on the green. I hope many of you are with me on the green, and even if you aren't, please join us probably around 10:30 for our Zoom social hour. Grace will be hosting the Zoom session as we do the Easter egg hunt. So you'll get to see some of the kids searching for eggs. I want to remind you that all of our events are on our church website, dedhamuu.org, and you can also join with us by getting on our email list on our website. At the bottom of the website, there's a place to sign up. If you haven't been receiving it and you think you should be already signed up, please contact the church office. We will now begin our morning worship with our introit, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, words by Rumi, music by Lynn Unger, performed by our First Church Choir.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of evening, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. We've broken our vows 1,000 times. 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 We've broken our vows 1,000 times.
Our opening words this morning are Maybe by Mary Oliver. Sweet Jesus, talking his melancholy madness, stood up in the boat, and the sea lay down, silky and sorry, so everybody was saved that night. But you know how it is when something different crosses the threshold. The uncles mutter together, the women walk away, the young brothers begin to sharpen his knife. Nobody knows what the soul is. It comes and it goes like the wind over the water. Sometimes for days you don't think of it. Maybe after the sermon, after the multitude was fed, one or two of them felt the soul slip forth, like the tremor of pure sunlight before exhaustion that wants to swallow everything, gripped their bones and left them miserable and sleepy as they are now, forgetting how the wind tore at the sails before he rose and talked to it, tender and luminous and demanding, as he always was, 1,000 times more frightening than the killer storm. Please join with me in singing 270 in our gray hymnal, 270, O Day of Light and Gladness. I would like to light our chalice today for all the people who've been struggling to get a COVID shot, and with the prayer that we will all be vaccinated soon. And I light our green sanctuary candle for all the ways we strive to live in a more sustainable congregation. Please say with me the unison affirmation as is written in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to serve humanity in love is our covenant with each other and with God. I'm going to ring our bell this morning, and then I will read you our children's message. Our children's message this morning is The Invisible String by Patrice Karst, illustrated by Jeff Stevenson. Liza and Jeremy, the twins, were asleep one calm and quiet night. Suddenly it began to rain very hard. Thunder rumbled until it got so loud that it woke them up. "Mommy, Mommy," they cried out as they ran out to her. "Don't worry, you two. It's just a storm making all that noise. Go back to bed." "We want to stay close to you," said Jeremy. "We're scared." Mom said, "You know, we're always together no matter what." "But how can we be together when we're apart?" asked Liza. Mom held something right in front of them and said, "This is how." Rubbing their sleepy eyes, the twins came closer to see what Mom was holding. "I was about your age when my mommy first told me about the invisible string." "I don't see a string," said Jeremy. "You don't need to see the invisible string. People who love each other are always connected by a very special string made of love. But if you can see it, how do you know it's there?" asked Liza. "Even though you can't see it with your eyes, you can feel it with your heart and know that you are always connected to everyone you love." When you're at school and you miss me, your love travels all the way down along that string until I feel it tug on my heart. And when you tug it right back, we feel it in our hearts, said Jeremy. "Does Jasper the cat have an invisible string?" Liza asked. "Sure he does," said Mom. "And best friends like me and Lucy?" asked Liza. "Best friends too." "How far can the cat string reach?" "Anywhere and everywhere," Mom said. "Would it reach me even if I were a submarine captain deep in the ocean?" asked Jeremy. "Yes," said Mom, "even there." "Or a mountain climber?" "Even there." "A ballerina in France?" "Even there." "A jungle explorer?" "Even there." "How about an astronaut out in space?" "Yes, even there." Then Jeremy quietly asked, "Can my string reach all the way to Uncle Brian in heaven?" "Yes, even there." "Does the string go away when you're mad at us?" "Never," said Mom. Love is stronger than anger, and as long as love is in your heart, the string will always be there. Even when you get older and can't agree about the things like what movie to see or what game to play in the back seat or what time to go to bed. Oh, that's right. You two should be in bed. And with that, they all laughed and Mom chased the twins back up to their beds. Within a few minutes, they were asleep, even though the storm was still making some loud noises outside, and they slept. And as they slept, they started dreaming of all the invisible strings they have, and the strings their friends have, and their friends have, and their friends have, until everyone in the world was connected by invisible strings. From deep inside, they now could hear clearly and see. No one is ever, ever, ever alone. And that's what I want you to really think about, is how as humans we're really all connected. And so remembering that connection first and all the other petty frustrations we have with each other last, that will help us be more grounded in our soul and our soul's purpose in life. I invite you into a time of prayer or meditation. As is your practice, we'll begin with the prayer on meditation performed by our First Church Choir. We'll begin with breathing in peace and breathing out love. Let us be grateful for all the silences in our lives, for with them we may more completely experience sound. Amen. Our second reading is an excerpt from the book Who Dies from Stephen and Andrea Levine. Stephen wrote many other books. A Year to Live was a very transformative book in my life. I suggest it to you if you are at all thinking of end-of-life questions. It is difficult to think of dying consciously when we notice how incomplete we feel, how frightened we are of life. It is almost as though we were never completely born. So much of ourselves is suppressed and compacted just beneath the surface. So much of ourselves is postponed So little have we investigated what caused us to retract in pain from our lives. So often our inquiries into who we are have been called on account of rain, because it was too painful to go deeper. We speak of dying and wholeness, yet we see there are aspects of ourselves that have never fully seen the light of day. We see how much of ourselves is submerged, feels yet unborn, how much we push away life. It is as though we had never fully touched the ground of being, never placed our 2 feet squarely on the present, always shuffling and toe-tapping, waiting for the next moment to arrive. If we examine our fear of death, we see in it a fear of the moment itself, of the next unknown changing moment of life. To become wholly born, whole beings, we must stop postponing life. To the degree we postpone life, we postpone death. We deny death and life in one fell swoop. I invite you to relax into our anthem, Where Do We Come From? Words by Paul Gauguin, music by Brian Tate, performed by our First Church Choir.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Mystery. Life is all and mystery. Where do we come from? Mystery. Life is all and mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Mystery, life is a real and mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a real and mystery. Mystery, life is a real and mystery. Mystery, life is a real and mystery. Mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery.
Our second reading comes from A Hidden Wholeness, written by Parker Palmer. Nobody knows what the soul is, says poet Mary Oliver. It comes and it goes like the wind over the water. But just as we can name the functions of the wind, so can we name some of the functions of the soul without presuming to penetrate its mystery. The soul wants to keep us rooted in the ground of our own being, resisting the tendency of other faculties like the intellect and the ego to uproot us from who we really are. The soul wants to keep us connected to the community in which we find life, for it understands that relationships are necessary if we are to thrive. The soul wants us to tell the truth about ourselves and our world and the relation between the two, whether the truth is easy or hard to hear. The soul wants us to give life and wants us to pass that gift along to become life givers in a world that deals too much with death. All of us arrive on earth with souls in perfect form, but from the moment of our birth onward, the soul or true self is assailed by deforming forces from without and within, by racism, sexism, economic injustice, and other social cancers, by jealousy, resentment, self-doubt, fear, and other demons of the inner life. I invite you to join with me in singing hymn number 306 in our gray hymnal, hymn number 306, Sing of Living and of Dying. Easter is the Christian celebration of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, falsely accused and willingly punished for other sins. He was given the death penalty and hung on a cross, until his body stopped being alive. Jesus was not alone, though. As he died, criminals hung on the crosses to his right and to his left, and the three talked together as they hung by their hands and their feet. Biblical scholars have long argued over the meaning of one particular line in their conversation. In Luke 23, we read, "Then one of the criminals who was hanged blasphemed him, saying, 'If you are the Christ, save yourself and us.' But the other, answering, rebuked him, saying, 'Do you not even fear God, seeing you are under the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward for our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong.' Then this criminal pleaded with Jesus, 'Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom.' And Jesus said to him, 'Assuredly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise.'" In that one simple sentence, "Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom," the penitent thief acknowledges Jesus as the Lord of God and in return is assured by Jesus of a place in paradise. The controversy deals with the very last line, Jesus' response to the thief's request to be remembered. "Assuredly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise, period. More specifically, the controversy is about the placement of one comma in that sentence. You see, in the original Greek texts of the New Testament, there were neither punctuation nor spacing between words. Greek language expert Michael W. Palmer writes, the ancient Greeks did not have any equivalent to our modern device of punctuation. Sentence punctuation was invented several centuries after the time of Christ. The oldest copies of both the Greek New Testament and the Hebrew Old Testament are written with no punctuation. It's actually hard for some people to imagine language without punctuation, especially when we consider how consequential a tiny dot or a slash would be. Consider the following. A mother could call out to her children, "Time to eat, children." That simple phrase requires a comma. Without the common comma, she would say, "It's time to eat, children." Or you could say to a friend, "Let's get a little Italian, baby." And without the comma, you might be looking for an Italian baby instead of Italian food. Or if you called out to a police officer, "Help, a thief," with no comma, help a thief. The police officer might actually think you are asking them to help the thief, not help you because you're being robbed. I think you're starting to get the picture. In today's language, comma placement is very important. As we make sense of the Bible, we must always remember that while many Christians believe that its contents are the inspired and direct Word of God, the stories of the Christian and Hebrew scriptures were first told orally and only much later written down, and the punctuation came long after that. All the punctuation marks are the result of human beings interpreting the meaning of the original Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew texts that contain no spaces or punctuation, and when they were first written down. When the translators of the English Bible interpreted the verse from Luke, they punctuated Jesus' response to the thief hanging next to him as follows: "Assuredly, comma, I say to you, comma, today you will be with me in paradise." If one were to read this and be asked, when will Jesus see the thief in paradise? The clear answer would be today. However, if the translators had placed the second comma one word later, it would have read, "Assuredly, comma, I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise." If one were to read this and be asked, when will Jesus see the thief in paradise? There would be no clear answer at all. One couldn't know for certain, only that it would be sometime in the future. Contextual and temporal clues from other Bible passages actually make it clear that the comma in that line is indeed misplaced. Jesus talked with the thief as they hung on their crosses on what is known as Good Friday, but Jesus did not ascend to heaven on that day. As such, he did not see the thief in paradise that day. A misplaced comma, no big deal, right? In a mythical story, definitely no big deal. Just cut and paste it, a bit of simple word processing, and the meaning is clarified. While this Easter Sunday grammar lesson might be really interesting to some grammarians among us, I want to offer it in a more metaphorical way. So much depends on where we pause in life, what we connect together or separate, what we emphasize, and when or if we ever experience a full stop. Like so many other things, punctuation matters more or less to different people. But in the whole context of our lives, so many things we focus our attention on or fret about matter very little at the end of our lives. We know only two things about the man on the cross next to Jesus. First, that he's a thief, and second, that he believed that the guy on the cross next to him was the Son of God. To know that this man is a thief, though, is to know almost nothing about him. It is to know that once he took a thing that was not his. This man is forever known as a thief, however, despite the fact that the word may only have applied to him on that very last day or couple days of his life. It's as if his entire story is represented by an ellipsis, those three dots we see next to words that indicate that some of the original words or quote are actually missing or not there. The dictionary defines an ellipsis as an omission from speech or writing of a word or words that are superfluous or able to be understood from contextual clues. Imagine everything you've ever done or thought or said or been, everything except one crime you committed being deemed as superfluous to anyone attempting to know you. Was the man a loving son? Was he a fun-loving, loyal brother? Did he hop like a bunny? Did he have an eagle eye like a hawk? The period after his title of thief indicates that any such information is absolutely unimportant, and that one can only truly know the man by knowing his crime. Similarly, this passage tells us that the man accepted Jesus as his Savior. However, we do not know if the man held this belief for more than a second before he addressed the guy next to him as Lord. Had he lived a pious life prior to his theft? Was he one of Jesus' followers? Was he a man guided by greed or generosity? Were his actions fueled by ego or love? And again, the answer to these questions that might help us to know the full life of the thief are deemed unnecessary. So why would the scriptures mention him at all? I had a seminary professor, a Catholic nun, who repeated often to us that what is essential to pay attention to in the Bible is what we see in between the lines of texts. And in my reading of the story, with or without the comma replaced, I believe this story is in the Bible to point out that Jesus does not discriminate against this man or hold back God's love from this man just because the man is a thief. I want you to consider how this scenario makes you feel. It will likely be others who will eventually, after you die, get to tell or even write your life story. I know that idea makes even me feel uncomfortable. I want to choose the bits that are seen and are considered central and core to who I am, and those that are discarded and as superfluous. And yet, with a little time and reflection, I can also see the benefit of zooming out, as it were. Because under a microscope and a magnifying glass, every aspect of my life feels consequential. And living with such a heightened, dare I say, exaggerated sense of the power of every word, every decision, every punctuation mark can be exhausting. It can even be paralyzing, setting me permanently into what is obscuring what might be. If instead I can put down the magnifying glass and climb up to the top branches of a tree, or zoom with the drone over to the top of the steeple of the beautiful church, I can see a much grander landscape than my own little postage stamp view. I can breathe more deeply when I zoom out and understand that perhaps only the pattern of my life is what endures. while the inevitable drop stitches and small tears disappear in the larger pattern. Today's centering thought, a poem by Auberjani, reads, "You were born a child of light's wonderful secret. You return to the beauty you have always been." I'm struck by the fact that this, like the seemingly sparse story of the life of the man on the cross, could be an unsatisfying distillation of a very full life. Yet despite being equally unnuanced, this story feels both more acceptable and more universal. One's all and everything are not detailed in this narrative, rather one's entrance into this existence. You were born a child of life's wonderful secret, and one's return to what came before it. You can return to the beauty you've always been. All of that occurs between the lines of the story of our lives and the things that really have little or no consequence. The answers to the questions about the man next to Jesus in this framing simply do not matter in the end. Born of light's wonderful secret, each of us will eventually return to the beauty we have always been, regardless of the ups and downs of the life between birth and death. I asked the choir to sing "Come, Come, Whoever You Are," and "Where Do We Come From? Where Are We Going?" because I believe these two songs can help us to see common threads in the fabric that Jesus, Rumi, Auberjani, and Gauguin, and Parker Palmer, and the Levines, among with many others, ask us to weave when we're thinking about our soul and our spirit and our life. This fabric can hold us together and guide us to live fully and well, and even to live into the wholeness of death. In this light, the choir sang Rumi's invitation, "Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you've broken your vows 1,000 times. Come, yet again come." This is our soul's calling. We're urged to come to the light, to the beauty we have always been. It is ours, and we are reminded, and Easter is our reminder, humans' inescapable birthright and destiny is our soul's purpose. From light to light, from love to love, wherever it took the man on the cross decades or no time at all to recognize, the light holds no meaning once that light is found. Our lives here on earth are not vessels designed to hold on to misdeeds, hurt feelings, or despair. Our lives are opportunities to embrace big questions like the ones Paul Gauguin depicted with his famous painting, "Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?" This is the soul's question, and to listen to these teachings and questions from our soul, which comes and goes like wind over the water, and to allow the warmth and light and energy and truth and fullness of love to guide us into living out the narrative that we were born on, well, that will be constructed upon our death. Jesus provides us with an inspiring model of living fully and forgiving everything and mercy and living into death and beyond. So let's live like every day matters, but know that not everything matters. And each in our own way live our soul's purpose until our death. I invite you to join with me in singing our final hymn, number 61, "Lo, the Earth Awaits Again." And now let us fix our steps, so we stagger not in the uneven motions of this world, but go steadily on our way, neither censuring our journey by the weather we meet, or turning aside from anything that might befall us. And please join me for Zoom Social Hour, where we'll be broadcasting from the green, the Easter egg hunt.